Great, so now we have the push button class, which is working. Okay, we can see we have a minimal class, okay, with minimal functionalities, and we can see with an example that we can read the state from the button. Now is the time to improve things a little bit. So the first improvement here will be about this pin mode function. So I have used input pull-up because in my hardware setting I simply don't have any resistor, so I need to use the internal pull-up resistor of the Arduino. Now I want to make this class more generic, so it can handle any type of hardware setup. So either there is a pull-down resistor, or there is a pull-up resistor, or there is no resistor at all, and we need to use input pull-up. Okay, so we have different situations. So what I'm going to do here is simply that in the constructor, so when we create the object, here we need to provide the pin number. I'm going to add a few parameters, so we need to provide also what is the hardware setup for the button. And from that, then everything in the code will be able to handle the specificities. Okay, so I'm going to add two new here private attributes. The first one, so I'm going to put a boolean like this, bool is pull up, and the second one, internal pull up activated. So the first, of course, will tell are we using a pull up or a pull down resistor, and the second one is in the case that we want a pull up functionality, actually, are we using an external pull-up or the internal pull-up? Okay, so with those two flags, with those two booleans, we will be able to know exactly the configuration we have with the hardware. And I'm going to add those here in the constructor, bool, and I'm going just to copy this is pull-up and bool internal pull-up activated. So if I add new parameters in the constructor here in the declaration, I need also to update the definition of the function. Let's do this. And well, because the line is quite long, I'm going to go back to a new line, do tabs a few times, okay, just to align the parameters like this. And then I'm simply going to do this is pull up, okay, which is the same here with the parameter, and the attribute is equal to is pull up, and this internal pull up activated is equal to internal pull up activated, the parameter here. Great, so now what I'm going to do with those, okay, because now in the class I have those two boolean values. Well, when I init the push button, I am going to check first if is pull up and internal pull-up activated. In that case, I am going to use the input pull-up mode. Okay, this is the only case when we use the input pull-up, is when we don't have any resistor, okay, connected to the push button, so any physical resistor. In that case, we are going to use the internal pull-up resistor from the Arduino board directly. So I check the two flags, if we want pull up and if we want to use the internal pull up. Then we use input pull up. And then else, so any other case, we're going to do pin mode, pin input. So if we handle the pull up and pull down resistor outside of the Arduino, so with an external resistor, then we just use input. And so now the button will be correctly initialized. Okay, the pin for the button will be correctly initialized, and you can use any hardware circuit you want. So in the code, you will just need to modify here the call for the constructor when you create the object. Okay, because this, if I just verify the code now, we have an error. Okay, because you can see no matching function for push button int. Okay, because this constructor doesn't exist anymore. Now we have to use this, so with a number and then a boolean and a boolean. So I'm going to use true and true. Why that? Because simply I am using a pull-up resistor and I'm using the internal pull-up resistor. If you are using, let's say, an external pull-up resistor, then you are going to put this to false. And if you are using an external pull-down resistor, then you are going to put this to false and this also to false. Okay, now I can verify the code and it's compiling.